lasting from 1933 to 1945 is an event that we are all fairly familiar with. But rarely do we focus on the micro events inside that allotted time period. The event I'm going to talk about today was a turning point in the Holocaust and very significant in showing the rapid progression of anti-Semitic policy in parts of Europe under Hitler's control. It was the first time that Nazis incarcerated Jewish people on a large scale based on ethnicity alone. It is called Kristallnacht, literally meaning crystal night or the night of broken glass. It was given this name because on the morning after the devastation, which we will discuss, there was shattered glass covering the streets from the windows of destroyed buildings. Today I will give you a little bit of insight into the events leading up to Kristallnacht, the horrific devastation of the actual event, and the aftermath of it. The events leading up to Kristallnacht are very important to understanding the event itself. As many of us may not know, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany in 1933, and since then tensions had been rising in the Reich, which consisted of parts of Europe that Hitler had overtaken. In October of 1938, the Polish government, aware of what was going on in Germany, released a statement saying that Poles living abroad would have their citizenship revoked if they did not get a special stamp from Polish officials by the end of the month. Seeing that Poland was not letting any of its citizens back in without the stamp, Hitler expelled 15,000 more Polish Jews from Germany on October 27th. The Polish government's move and Hitler's countermove left over 50,000 Polish Jews dislocated. Michael Berenbaum, writer of an article on Kristallnacht from 2015, tells us that Polish student Herschel Grishman was going to school in Paris when he heard that his parents were among the dislocated. He sought revenge, so he bought a pistol, and on November 7th he went to the embassy with the intentions of shooting the ambassador. He actually shot German diplomat Ernst von Rath, who later died on November 9th. This is an image of Ernst von Rath's funeral procession. This event caused the actual event of Kristallnacht. Rath's death did not sit well with the Nazi leadership, who was already gathered in Munich on the 9th for the commemorating the beer hall putsch, which was Hitler's first failed attempt at government overthrow in 1923. Berenbaum says that at this party, Hitler's Minister of Propaganda, Joseph Goebbels, convinced him that although violence had already been inflicted upon the Jews, they deserved a much worse punishment for the death of Ernst von Rath. Hitler decided then that there were to be spontaneous demonstrations of violence toward the Jews in the Reich. Goebbels gathered a group of stormtroopers and spoke to them under Hitler's orders. He urged violent reprisals, and just before midnight on the 9th of November, Gestapo chief Heinrich Müller sent out a telegraph to all police units telling them to not intervene with the violence, but to partake in it and arrest the victims. This telegraph gave way to violent attacks all throughout the Reich. Kristallnacht is also often called the November pogroms. A pogrom is an organized act of ill treatment or violence toward a certain group of people based on ethnicity, which is exactly what this was. The events spanned from the night of November 9th to the 10th. Rabbi Bernard Rosenberg, writer of the article Kristallnacht Must Never Be Forgotten, tells us that in a single night over 1,000 synagogues were destroyed by rioters and or fire. The fire companies stood by watching them burn under strict orders to only intervene if the fire threatened nearby buildings. Here you can see a German synagogue in flames. Nazi followers and Hitler Youth members smashed in windows, looted, and destroyed around 7,500 Jewish businesses. Stormtroopers attacked Jewish people in their homes and in the streets, forcing them to perform humiliating acts and beating them. Here you can see Jewish people running in the streets. Jennifer Rosenberg, writer of the article Kristallnacht, The Night of Broken Glass from 2015, says that although murder was not in the troopers' orders, 91 Jewish people perished on the night of broken glass. As I mentioned before, Kristallnacht was the first time that Nazis incarcerated Jewish people on a large scale based solely on ethnicity. 30,000 Jewish men between the ages of 16 and 60 were arrested on this night and taken to nearby concentration camps. All were labeled healthy. Finally, I'm going to talk about how Kristallnacht was the beginning of the Holocaust as we know it. I've already talked about the devastation of that night, so now I'm going to talk about the aftermath. Not only were their synagogues, businesses, and homes destroyed, but the Nazi leadership decided to further punish the Jewish people and claim that the pogroms were their fault. Michael Berenbaum tells us that the German government imposed a fine of 1 billion Reichsmarks, equivalent to $400 million US, on the German Jewish community. The cost of the shattered glass alone was estimated to be millions of Reichsmarks. And if this wasn't enough, all insurance payouts were confiscated, and the Jewish people were forced to take personal responsibility for the violence and destruction inflicted upon them. After assessing the fine, German leader Hermann Göring said, "The swine won't commit another murder. Incidentally, I would not like to be a Jew in Germany." Just days after the devastation, the Nazis started imposing new laws upon the Jewish people. By November 15th, children were banned from schools, and by the end of the month, curfews were in place. By December of 1938, Jewish people were banned from most public places in Germany. Today I've discussed the events leading up to Kristallnacht, the horrific devastation of the actual event, and the aftermath of it. Although we don't focus so much on the small events leading up to historic tragedies, it is important that we never forget that they took place and that they are significant. Today I would like to end this with a quote by George Santayana. "Those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it. We should never forget events like these." Thank you.